Once upon a time, in a small village called AJILETE, there was a girl named Amina. But this was not an ordinary girl. No, no, no. Amina was like a roaring lion in a school full of sheep. Everybody feared her. Teachers, students, even the principal. She was big. She was strong. And she had the face of someone who never smiled. If you saw her coming, you moved out of the way. If she sat beside you, you dared not breathe too loud. Nobody wanted to be on her bad side because Amina did not forgive, and she did not forget. Amina was different from the other students. She was older, much older. While other students were 16, 17, Amina was already 21. She had repeated classes 5 times, but she didn't care. People called her Mommy of the school because she was like an adult among children. But she didn't act like an adult. Oh no, Amina was wild. She came to school when she liked. She slept in class like she was in her bedroom. She never did homework. And if any teacher asked her a question, she would yawn in their face like they were wasting her time. Nobody could control her. Not the teachers, not the principal, not even the village elders. She was like a storm that no one could stop. And the worst part, she loved trouble. If there was peace, Amina would break it. If there was quiet, she would bring noise. If you looked at her the wrong way, boom, she would fight you. One day, a teacher told her, "Amina, sit properly." Amina turned to him, her eyes cold. "Do you want me to sit on your head?" The class gasped. The teacher sighed and walked away. It was better to ignore her than to fight a battle he would surely lose. Even the principal had given up. "Just let her be," Mr. George said. "She will leave one day." But Amina had no plans of leaving. And in AJILETE Community School, everyone knew one thing. Wherever Amina was, trouble followed. And the worst part? Her story had not even begun. A long time ago, before Amina became the terror of the school, she was just another junior student. She was stubborn, yes, but back then, she was not yet feared. Then one day, everything changed. That morning, Amina came late to school. The sun was already high in the sky, and the other students were in class already. She strolled in slowly, chewing gum, swinging her arms like she had all the time in the world. A senior student, Kunla, stood by the school gate. He saw her. His eyes narrowed. "Amina, why are you just coming?" Amina blew a bubble with her gum and popped it. She did not answer. Kunle frowned. He was one of the toughest seniors in school. He had punished many students before, and nobody ever talked back to him. "Go and kneel down," he commanded. Amina did not move. Kunle's face darkened. "Are you deaf?" He grabbed his cane and raised it. Before Amina could react, swoosh! The cane landed on her back. The school went silent. Kunle flogged her again. "Swoosh! You think you are special," he barked. Some students shifted uncomfortably. They knew Amina from the village. They knew her story. They knew her ways. And they knew Kunle had just made the worst mistake of his life. "Senior Kunle, please leave her," one boy whispered. "She is not someone you should punish," another girl warned. Kunle laughed. "I will teach her a lesson," he boasted. "Let her do her worst." He did not stop. He made her cut grass under the hot sun. She worked for hours, her hands blistering, her face covered in sweat. But Amina did not cry. She did not beg. She did not even look at Kunle for too long. Amina only glanced at him, her voice quiet like the wind before a storm. "Be prepared," she said, "and don't run home after closing." Kunle only laughed again. He thought she was joking, but Amina never joked. When school closed, Students hurried home, but Amina did not leave. She waited outside the gate, standing under a mango tree, her arms crossed. Kunle strolled out, whistling and laughing with his friends. That girl thought she was stubborn. I showed her pepper. But as he stepped out of the school gate, someone was waiting. Amina. Before Kunle could blink, she grabbed him by the collar and dragged him behind the school fence. Ah, what is happening? A junior student whispered. Shh, it's Amina, another said, peeping through the window. And then it began. Smack! Amina slapped him. She punched him in the stomach. Kunle fell to the ground, coughing, but Amina was not done. She climbed on top of him and beat him like a drum. She punched, she kicked, she scratched. Kunle tried to crawl away, but Amina grabbed a handful of sand and shoved it into his mouth. Swallow it, she hissed. Kunle gagged, his eyes wide with fear. He had been the king of the school, but now, in that moment, he was nothing. When she was satisfied, Amina stood up, dusted her hands, and walked away like nothing had happened. The next day, Kunle came to school with bruises on his face. He did not speak. He did not complain. And from that day, nobody, not students, not seniors, not even teachers, dared to cross Amina. Her reign of terror had begun. Months passed, and the school settled again, leaving Amina all alone, never bothered, until one hot afternoon when it happened again, this time with a well-respected teacher. The sun was high, the air was hot, and the students sat quietly in class, waiting. The history teacher, Mr. Salami, was coming. Everybody liked Mr. Salami. He was patient, kind, and never shouted. But that day, something happened that had never happened before. At the back of the class, Amina was eating. Not small food, no. A big plate of rice and chicken with stew dripping down the side. She ate like she was at home, licking her fingers, chewing loudly, and picking her teeth. The smell of the food filled the whole class. The students dared not talk. Nobody wanted to enter trouble. But they stole glances at each other, wondering what would happen next. Then, Mr. Salami walked in. He stopped at the door. He saw Amina. He saw the food. His face changed. Amina, he called, his voice calm. Can you keep your food for later? Amina did not answer. She picked a piece of chicken, crunched the bone, and kept chewing. The class held their breath. Mr. Salami took a deep breath. He was still calm. Amina, I said, stop eating. Amina licked her fingers. She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand and looked up at him like he was disturbing her. Then she did something that made everybody freeze. She picked up a chicken bone and threw it. Pa! The bone hit Mr. Salami's chest. Oil from the food splattered on his white shirt. The class gasped. Nobody had ever done this before. Mr. Salami lost his patience. His face changed. His hand clenched. Amina, come outside now, he ordered. His voice was no longer calm. Amina stood up slowly. She picked up her plate of rice. Everybody thought she was going to drop it, maybe put it aside. But no, she walked straight to the front of the class, stood before Mr. Salami, and poured the whole food on his head. Boo! The whole class screamed. Rice covered his face. Chicken bones fell to the ground. Red stew dripped down his neck like palm oil on a goat's back. Mr. Salami did not move. The students did not breathe. Silence filled the room. Then everything exploded. The class screamed. Mr. Salami lost control. Slap! His hand met Amina's cheek. The sound echoed in the room. But Amina did not cry. She only touched her face and looked at him with cold eyes. Then she spoke. "Don't try this again ever in your life." Mr. Salami was even angrier. "And what will you do? Slap me back?" He raised his hand to hit her again. And that was the mistake. Before his palm could land, Amina caught his wrist in midair. Then, bam! She punched him. Wham! She grabbed a chair and swung it at him. Crash! It hit his shoulder. He staggered backward. His feet wobbled. Then he fell. Amina jumped on him. She punched. She kicked. She fought like a wild animal. Students ran to the corners of the classroom. Some ran outside. Nobody dared to stop her. By the time other teachers rushed in, Mr. Salami was bleeding. His white shirt was now red. Amina sat on his back, still beating him. The teachers pulled her off. They carried Mr. Salami and rushed him to the hospital. That day, something changed. The teachers whispered. The students trembled. Amina had beaten a teacher, and nothing in AJILETE Community School would ever be the same again. The school was quiet. Too quiet. For 2 whole days, nobody saw Mr. Salami. His seat in the staff room was empty. His house was locked. His bicycle, the one he always rode to school, was gone. The students whispered. The teachers murmured. Even the principal, Mr. George, was confused. "Where is Mr. Salami?" a teacher asked. No one had an answer. Some said he was still in the hospital, lying on a bed, too weak to move. Some said he packed his bags and left the village in shame. Some even believed he went to the city to start a new life, far away from the girl who had humiliated him. But one thing was clear. Amina had broken him. He was the teacher that never shouted, the teacher that never raised his voice, the teacher that was patient with everybody. But Amina had ended him. The students in the class where it happened still talked about that day. "I saw blood on his shirt," one boy whispered. "I saw his eyes roll back," another girl said. "He fell like a tree," someone added, shivering at the memory. The fear spread. The teachers gathered in the staff room, their voices low. "This girl is dangerous," one of them muttered. "If she can beat a teacher, then who is next?" another asked. "We must do something before she kills someone," an older teacher whispered. Even the principal rubbed his head in frustration. He had seen many stubborn students before, but never someone like Amina. And so the school waited to see if Mr. Salami would ever return, waited to see what Amina would do next. But Mr. Salami never came back. The classroom where it happened felt haunted. His chair remained empty. His books gathered dust. The teachers never spoke his name again. And Amina? She walked around the school like nothing happened. The teachers had had enough. First, she beat a senior student. Then, she beat a teacher so badly, he disappeared. Who was next? The principal. The staff room was filled with angry voices. "We can't continue like this," one teacher shouted. "She is not a student. She is a wild animal." Another added, "We must expel her before she does something worse." Even Mr. George, the principal, sighed and rubbed his forehead. There was no other option. That morning, during assembly, he stood in front of the students. His voice was firm. His face was serious. "Amina, come forward." The students turned, eyes wide. "Amina," called out in assembly. Amina strolled forward slowly. Her hands were in her pockets. Her chewing gum popped loudly. She looked at the principal with zero respect. Mr. George held up a piece of paper. His voice rang through the air. "Amina, you are no longer a student of this school. You have been expelled." The school erupted in cheers. Finally, some students whispered. She's leaving. Others clapped. Even some teachers smiled. But Amina? She stood there blowing another bubble with her gum. Then she spoke. Come and take me out if you can. Silence. Mr. George's face turned red. He had never seen such disrespect. Leave now, he shouted. Amina did not move. Furious, Mr. George marched towards her. He pushed her from behind. I said leave my school at this moment, you this animal. Big mistake. Boom. Before anyone could blink, Amina turned and punched him in the face. Blood poured from his nose. The students gasped. The teachers froze. Mr. George stumbled back, holding his face. Amina was not done. She grabbed the expulsion letter, tore it into tiny pieces, and threw it at him. You can't send me away, she said. Before anyone could stop her. Bash! She kicked his jaw. 2 of his teeth flew out. Ah! The students screamed. The teachers? They ran. The students? They scattered. The principal fell to the ground, unconscious. Amina dusted her hands and walked away. The next week, 5 teachers resigned. The school was in chaos. The principal was in the hospital, missing 2 teeth. 5 teachers had resigned. The students walked around in fear, whispering Amina's name like a curse. Something had to be done. That morning, 4 male teachers gathered in the staff room. They were the strongest in the school. One was Mr. Art, the PE teacher, with arms as big as yam tubers. One was Mr. Hassan, the mathematics teacher, who once fought off thieves in his compound. One was Mr. Obi, the chemistry teacher, who lifted big water drums like they were feathers. And the last was Mr. Femi, the discipline master, who was feared for his punishments. We must stop her today, one said, cracking his knuckles. We will teach her a lesson she will never forget, another added. We are 4 men. She is just 1 girl, the last one scoffed. They picked up their canes and marched to Amina's classroom. Inside, the students were quiet. The moment they saw the teachers enter, they knew something bad was about to happen. One teacher stepped forward. Amina, stand up and follow us. Amina, sitting at the back, did not even look at him. She tore a page from her book, rolled it into a ball, and threw it at his face. The class gasped. Another teacher stepped forward. Amina, don't try us today. Come outside now. Amina stretched her legs, yawned, and leaned back. I'm not going anywhere, she said lazily. The biggest teacher in the group turned to the class. Everybody move back. The students jumped from their seats and pressed themselves against the walls. Nobody wanted to be near what was about to happen. The teachers surrounded Amina. Then the first teacher grabbed her wrist. Big mistake. Bam! Amina twisted his arm and elbowed him in the stomach. Wham! She grabbed a desk and swung it at the second teacher. He crashed into the blackboard. The third teacher tried to hold her down, but Amina kicked his legs from under him. He hit the floor, groaning in pain. Now, only one teacher remained. He looked at his fallen colleagues. He looked at Amina. He stepped back. This girl is not normal, he whispered. But Amina was not done. She picked up a broken chair and charged at him. Crack! The chair split in 2 on his back. He fell forward, his face hitting the ground. The class was silent. All 4 teachers lay on the floor, groaning. Chairs were broken. Blood was on the floor. Amina wiped her hands and walked back to her seat. The students stared at her in horror. That evening, the whole village talked about it. That girl is cursed, one elder whispered. She is not normal, another agreed. Nobody had ever seen one girl fight 4 men and win. And from that day, no teacher in AJILETE Community School ever dared to touch Amina again. Everybody in AJILETE village feared Amina. They said she was cursed. They said she had the strength of 10 men. They said she was not normal. But nobody knew her story. Nobody knew what happened when Amina went home after school. Nobody knew what she had seen, what she had lived through, what had made her the way she was. Amina's house was not a home. It was a battlefield. Her father was a drunkard and a gambler. He wasted money, shouted at everybody, and spent most nights lying in the gutter like a useless man. Her mother, a prostitute. She left the house at night, dressed in short skirts, searching for men to pay her for what was supposed to be free. And every single night, without fail, they fought. Plates shattered, chairs broke, curses filled the air. Sometimes, Amina's father would slap her mother until her face swelled. Other times, her mother would stab him with a broken bottle. Blood, shouting, screaming, crying. That was the music Amina grew up hearing. There was no love in that house, no peace, no kindness, just war. And when a child grows up in war, they become a soldier. Amina learned to fight before she learned to write. She learned to shout before she learned to read. She learned to survive before she learned to live. One day, when she was 12, she tried to stop them. "Baba, stop!" she cried, holding his arm. But Baba Amina slapped her so hard she fell. That was the day Amina stopped crying. That was the day Amina became stone. She never cried again. She never begged again. She never feared anyone again. She learned how to fight. She learned that in this world, only the strong survive. If her father could hit her mother, if her mother could throw a knife at her father, if love did not exist in her house, then why should she listen to any teacher? Why should she fear any student? Her home was a war zone, so she carried that war everywhere she went, to school, to the classroom, to the teachers, to the principal. She fought because fighting was all she knew. She destroyed because that was all she saw. Amina was not just a girl full of anger. Amina was a girl raised in fire. And now she had become fire herself. Nobody in AJILETE village knew the truth. They only saw the monster. They never asked who or what created it. Then, one morning, something different happened. The school compound was filled with soldiers. Their boots pounded the ground. Their voices boomed like thunder. Their eyes were sharp, watching everything. It was Corpers Orientation Day. A new batch of corps members had arrived, and the soldiers had come to train them. One of the new corps members was Uche. He was young, kind, and full of hope. He had heard about the school's troubles, but he did not know about Amina. Not yet. The students stood in neat lines. The teacher stood beside them. The national anthem began to play. Everybody stood straight. Everybody sang. Everybody showed respect. But then, like a slow-moving storm, Amina walked into the school compound. Late, chewing gum, swinging her arms like she owns the place. She did not stop. She did not stand. She did not even look at the flag. She just walked past everybody, like the anthem meant nothing. The students held their breath. The soldiers noticed. When the anthem ended, one of the soldiers stepped forward. He was tall. He was strong. His face was like carved stone. "You," he called, pointing at Amina. Amina stopped, her gum popping loudly. "Come here," the soldier commanded. Amina stared at him. "What now?" she muttered. The students shivered. Did this girl have no fear? The soldier's face remained calm. "Since you don't respect the anthem, recite it for everyone." The students gasped. Amina? Recite the anthem? That would be a miracle. Amina's face darkened. She did not like being ordered around. I don't have time for this, she said, turning to leave. Come here, the soldier repeated, pulling her hand, his voice sharper. Then something inside Amina snapped. Before she could think, before she could stop herself, she raised her hand. Slap! The sound of her palm hitting the soldier's face echoed in the air. The whole school froze. The students stared. The teacher stepped back. Nobody had ever slapped a soldier before. Even Amina, for the first time in her life, felt something strange. It was not fear, not regret, but something deeper, a mistake she could not take back. The soldier did not move. He did not blink, but his jaw tightened, his hands curled into fists. Then his voice dropped, cold, dangerous, final. Take her to the barracks. 2 soldiers grabbed Amina. She kicked. She shouted. But the soldiers did not care. They dragged her out of the school like a captured thief. And that was the day Amina learned. There are some people even she cannot fight. Amina had fought many battles. She had beaten students. She had beaten teachers. She had even beaten the principal. But this time, she had made a mistake. A big mistake. She had slapped a soldier, and now the soldiers had dragged her to the barracks. From the moment she arrived, the punishment began. Lie down, a soldier barked. Amina did not move. Whap! A whip kissed her back. She gritted her teeth and obeyed. Roll in the mud! Amina clenched her fists. The thick black mud smelled awful. It was sticky, slimy, cold. Move! She rolled. Again, and again, and again. Now crawl. She looked up. Barbed wire, sharp, deadly, and she had to crawl under it. Amina's heart pounded, but she knew refusing was not an option. She went down on her belly. The rough stones beneath scratched her skin. The sharp wire above scraped her back. She crawled forward. She crawled until her knees bled, until her arms shook, until her body screamed. But the soldiers were not done. They made her carry heavy bags of sand on her head. They made her squat until her legs felt like fire. They made her run in circles until she fell to the ground, gasping for air. Day 1, she fought back, shouted, cursed. Day 2, her voice became weak. Her body became slower. Day 3, she could barely move. For the first time in her life, Amina felt small. And then Uche stepped in. The young corps member, the one posted to her school, the one who had watched everything happen, came forward. He saw her lying on the ground, her body covered in dirt, her face swollen with pain. She is just a girl, forgive her, sir, he pleaded. She have learned her lessons, and she dare not try such a thing again in her life, he added. Just let her go home, please. The soldiers laughed. A girl that slaps a soldier, one scoffed. She should face the consequences, another said. But Uche did not stop. I believe she can change, he said. She just needs someone to show her how. The commander narrowed his eyes. If we let her go and she misbehaves again, we won't be soft. Uche nodded. She won't? I will take care of her. The commander waved his hand. Fine, take her. But if she dare make this type of mistake again, you both will be in trouble. And just like that, Amina was free, but she was not the same. She could barely stand. She could barely speak. The fire in her eyes was dim. Uche placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You can be great, Amina. I believe in you. But do you think Amina would change? Do you think Uche can really help her? Or will he also receive the beating of his life from Amina too? Subscribe and join us in part 2 to find out what later happened. Thank you.